One of the biggest things that I had a problem with at the very beginning of my sales career, and I figured out over time, and this is something I'm going to help you fast track right now as far as your success is this, is that your process has to be consistent. Okay. You have to have a consistent process on how you sell something. So if I'm going to sell Cody, or I'm going to sell, I'm going to sell you, Andrea, I have to have the same process. I have to have my same exact questions lined up so that they're exactly the same. Because if they're different, if I'm asking Cody different questions, I'm asking you different questions, then I can't be consistent in my sales process. I can never go back and go, what am I doing wrong right now? Because guess what? I'm asking and I'm going down a different road. And then all of a sudden you end up going down what I call a rabbit hole. And you try to figure out what you're doing wrong. It's because there is no process in place. So I just shot this video on what I call the hamburger sales process. So I use McDonald's as a good example, is that when McDonald's first came out, they were the first franchise that literally just changed the fast food industry as we know it today. If they weren't consistent, guess what would happen? We wouldn't know about them today. So the good thing is that whether you're eating a McDonald's here in Missouri,
yes,
or I'm having one in Tampa, I walk into that McDonald's, I know exactly what that Big Mac should taste like. If it tastes different in Missouri than it does in Tampa, guess what? I'm going to be turned off from that product. And it holds true now to so many other franchises like Chick-fil-A. You know when you go to Chick-fil-A exactly what your experience is. You know exactly how that hamburger's going to taste. Guess what? If that franchise is not putting out the same product, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be inconsistent and they're not going to make it. So what I did is I went ahead and I separated my sales into compartments. So I learned this a while back, is that when you're looking at a ship,
he's like the best storyteller ever, by the way. So I'm excited about this. I don't think I've heard this one.
I don't think you heard this one.
I've heard a bunch of stories of this guy. Phenomenal. I haven't heard this one. This is going to be good.
So when you're looking at a ship, if the ship is set up into different compartments so that if it gets punctured, the whole ship doesn't fill up with water and it sinks to the ground. So what they do is this: if it gets punctured here, they shut off the valves, they shut it down so that it can't penetrate the rest of the ship. So the ship is set up into different compartments. So guess what? The ship stays afloat. It doesn't sink. So I'm going to translate this now to selling.
Okay.
If you don't have your compartments set up, then guess what? You get punctured, everything's going to go ahead and fill up and you're going to sink and you're going to fail. And so you set it up in compartments. So my first compartment was this: is connect, find common ground. I cannot mentally move forward into the next compartment. I can't move over into it until I've connected and I've found some common ground. So how do you do that? How do you connect? How do you find common ground? Here's the easiest way to do it. It's going to take practice. It's going to take some time. Is if I can get Cody to laugh or chuckle, I've connected with Cody. I've connected with him. If I can get him to laugh or I can get him to chuckle a bit, I have connected with him. And so I've learned that we all have common ground. I have something in common with you, Andrea. I don't know what it is right now, but I know we have something in common. I have something in common with Cody. I've got something in common with every single one of you. I have to try to find that common ground and try to connect. So in that first compartment, what I would do is I would always jump on the phone call and go, hey, Andrea, how have you been? Trying to establish a past relationship with that person, trying to get some common ground. I would start using Andrea's first name, and I would try to find something that could make Andrea chuckle, could make Andrea laugh. Because if I could do that, then at that point, I have satisfied that first compartment. I am now giving myself freedom to move to the next compartment. Does that make sense?
That's good. That's really good.
So the second compartment is the qualification. You have to qualify that person in the second compartment. So here's the key thing: is our company, our agency, has a sheet, a fact find sheet that every agent has, that they have to follow these questions on that fact find so that they're able to be consistent in their process. They're going to ask them, they verify their address, their zip code. They're going to verify their date of birth. They're going to verify whether it's their first time on Medicare or they've already been on Medicare. Then they're going to start the process of asking, what do you currently have for your insurance? What are you paying for it? You have a spouse. So every call is exactly the same. So that now they're being consistent in what I call that hamburger sales process. Because a lot of calls I've had have not moved past that qualification stage. They have not moved past it because I couldn't find the problem. I couldn't find out what was the pain point. That person didn't have one. So guess what ends up happening when somebody doesn't have a problem or they don't have a pain point that you can solve? Then you know what you end up becoming? A peddler. You become a sales peddler. And you cannot be consistent by doing that. You might get a sale, but you're going to push so hard because you're peddling your stuff and you're not finding the problem, you're not solving the pain point. So a lot of calls I've had to exit stage right, I call it, or stage left, whatever you want to call it, because I couldn't find that pain point. I couldn't find that person was a problem. So I was trying to create one that was going to cause me more problems trying to close it. And my percentage was so low that I looked like some sleazy snake oil salesman, and I didn't want that. I was much better than that. And so the qualification stage, once you've gone past the qualification stage, the next stage is the presenting stage.
Yep.
What I call the performance. Okay. During the performance, this is really key, Cody, is that in the performance, what are you going to do? You're going to talk about features and benefits, correct? Here's the problem sales agents do. So if you're taking notes, this is a big one, is when you're talking about features and benefits, you don't want to feature dump. So how do you do that? When you're talking about features and benefits, you're always tying it back into the problem of the qualification stage. So when I'm talking about the features, okay, so this product does this service does this. Remember we talked about the big problem you have right now is this. I'm tying that feature back to the problem that I uncovered in the qualification stage. And that's a big mistake sales agents make, is that they all of a sudden, they find the problem, they find the pain point, but now they're starting to tell them all about how great this product is, how great this service is. And they're not tying it back to the qualification stage. So that person is not feeling that pain point anymore. And now all of a sudden they start actually kind of viewing you as a peddler when that was not your intention. You were actually doing the right thing, but you missed a step because you were just feature dumping. And so during that presentation stage, what I'm wanting them to do is I'm wanting them to want it. I'm wanting them to want it. Okay. And so I'd mentioned this in the video that I just shot is that during the qualification stage, when you're going through the qualification stage, here's a key line that you should ask on every single phone call, every single one. You want to be consistent, here's how you do it. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Because guess what? I am hitting what? The pain point. I'm hitting that pain point when I'm saying, how does that make you feel?
That's good.
So all of a sudden now, and so I'm training my agents right now. I say, hey, during that qualification stage, ask them how it makes them feel. And get them starting to feel that pain point. It becomes very personal. It becomes emotional. And 85% of selling is emotional.
Yeah.
So if I can ask somebody, how does that make you feel? What am I tapping into? Their logical brain? No, it's the emotional side of it. So, start trying this, start testing this out. When you're talking to somebody, you're in that qualification stage, start asking them, hey, how does that make you feel? I want to make sure that I can see all my doctors. I don't know, what insurance you're in right now, but in the Medicare space, health insurance, a lot of times they want to keep their own doctors. They don't want to change doctors. So that sometimes is a big pain point. So I can ask questions like, hey, how does that make you feel if you couldn't go see those doctors? Boom.
Not good.
I wouldn't know what to do. I've seen this doctor for so long. I just keep hitting on that pain point.
Yes.
So now when I start talking about features and benefits, what am I doing? I'm tying it back into that. Remember, Tony, we talked about earlier the fact that you may want to make sure that you see all of your doctors. That was a big problem that you felt that you could face. Remember that made you feel this way. Oh yeah, this is going to solve it. So now I'm not just feature dumping, I'm tying everything back.
That's strong.
Tying everything back. So then in the close stage is where you're going ahead and they're buying it and they're doing what? They're owning it. So in the closing stage, I'm starting to have them own it. So Andrea, when you go to the doctor, you're going to show them your Medicare card and you're going to show them the Aetna card. They're going to look at both those cards. They're going to scan everything. They're going to hand it back to you. What have I done? They have now bought it before they've actually even bought it.
Yeah.
They've psychologically already purchased them. So if you follow those steps, you're going to be very consistent in your sales process. So let me get back to the McDonald's thing.
This is great, by the way. This is strong.
So what about at the end, I don't close the deal? I did everything perfect in my eyes. I've connected. I got Cody to laugh. I got him to chuckle. We found the pain points. You know, I talked about the features and benefits. I tied it back into it. I had him owning it. And then all of a sudden, Cody flakes out on me. He doesn't buy. So what do? Just slam the phone down and go cry? No. This is going to be key. I'm going to reverse engineer the sales call. I'm going to reverse engineer the sales call. I'm going to start looking, okay, let me go back through every compartment. What would I have done differently if I could have done something differently? You know what? There was a pain point of Cody's I didn't really touch on as hard as I probably should have. That was my problem right there. If maybe I had pushed it a little bit further, Cody might have all of a sudden been like, oh, man. So now I've reverse engineered that phone call and I've replayed it in my mind. And so now guess what? When I come out with, I start talking to Cody's doppelganger in another phone call, guess what? I'm able to now zone in on what I messed up with this Cody, and I'm able to try to make it different with this next Cody, and you'll find out that your sales process will get better. So whenever you don't close a sale that you think you should have, reverse engineer the call. Listen back to your call if you can, because all of a sudden you'll start picking up things like, I used to do it all the time. It used to drive me crazy. I'd sit there and I'd listen back to a call that I didn't close. I'm like, oh, I should have said that right there. That's where I should have said it. And guess what? I wouldn't make that mistake again. And that's how you're very, very consistent in your sales process, by keeping things in compartments, and then obviously making sure that that you're reverse engineering each call that you're not doing well. And I think a lot of salespeople, if you have the ability to do this, listen to your calls.
Yes.
Guess what? Every one of you here hate listening to yourself over the phone. Guess what? I love hearing myself. No, I hate hearing myself on the phone as well. I hate it. I'm like, who buys from this voice? It sucks. It's terrible. Like, I don't like my voice. I don't have a DJ voice. But what I do have is I have the emotional connection, and I have a process in place that works because I'm consistent in that process. So again, I would just encourage everybody, listen to your phone calls, even the good ones. Listen to the good ones, because that allows you to do that. I had a sales agent once that was an absolute rock star, and I'd get to the office early in the mornings. And the first time this happened, I was like, what on earth is he doing? He got there before anybody else. And he's sitting in his cubicle. And I'm like, why is this rock star here this early when I'm in here? And I walk up to him, and he's doing this. Like he's got like an earache. I'm like, what is he doing? I'm like, Eric, what are you doing? Shh. I'm listening to my call right now. He came back and said, Greg, I only got one sale yesterday, and I should have got more. I had to figure out what I was doing wrong. And I kind of stood back and said, good job, Eric. And I walked away, and I could see him going, yeah, right there. I knew what he was doing. He was going, oh, I missed it right there. I missed it. That was my cue right there, and I screwed up. And that's so why I didn't get that sale. And so again, what was he doing? He was actually reverse engineering his phone call by listening to it. So that's the key takeaway there, is if you're struggling, listen to your calls. Listen to how you did things. Make sure that you've got those compartments in place so that you're not jumping from one compartment to the next, because it's so easy to jump on a call and at the end of the day jump into the presentation part of it and try to sell somebody without having some of these other things in place. So it's, that'd be, I think, one of my big takeaways for you is just whatever industry you're in, sit down and get the foundation. Make sure that you have those compartments. And the 4 compartments for me, it might be different for some people, but for me, it was always connect, common ground, try to get them to laugh, try to get them to acknowledge it. It's so funny because I listen to phone calls of mine where they would come in aggressive and they would just be like, jump down my throat. And I would go ahead and I would get past that objection, that resistance, and I'd start talking to them, and all of a sudden I would say something and they would giggle. I'm like, done, we're good. Time to move to the next compartment right now, because now they've warmed up to me. They've connected with me. But if I couldn't get a chuckle, I couldn't get a laugh, and I'd tell some kind of dry joke sometimes, I'd keep trying it until I could try and maybe get that connection with somebody. So I've been talking a little bit, so let me just shut up for a second.
Well, I wasn't going to get in the way because that was good. I love, okay, so recap: connect, qualification, presentation and close, or was it performance?
Well, presentation performance.
Yeah, and then close. I loved how you were tying the features and benefits back to the original problem, and you were focusing on the ones that they really cared about, which is really important. You were helping them own it visually, which is really cool. I love the how does that make you feel, right? So good. 85% of sales are emotional. Reverse engineering the calls. We need to listen to our calls more here. Hey, if you love what you just saw, okay, that is an exclusive private group called the Rising Stars Mastermind that you have to be accepted. You have to apply and be accepted to be a part of. So we do a call like that every single Monday, and I want you to be on it. It's exclusive, it's behind the scenes, it's private, and we interview a power player every single week just like that, and they share their story and they drop some massive bombs. I'm talking, think about getting access to the top 50 people in the entire industry, okay? And you're getting access to them as a part of this group every single week. So there's a link below in the description to apply to be a part of the Rising Stars Mastermind. Now, when you become a rising star, okay, because you believe in yourself, the number one thing you need is information. I'm gonna give you the information and motivation, accountability, and the network every single week together. Now, in the Rising Stars Mastermind, yes, you get the weekly call, okay, the weekly coaching call. You also get access to my sales system for an entire year. You also get access to every course that I've ever made forever. You also get to spend a day here in Springfield, Missouri with me. You also get a workshop event in the next year here in Springfield, Missouri as well. Okay, this Rising Star Mastermind comes with more value than we've ever put in any product before. And I can tell you that if you want to get to the next level, you want to be on private coaching calls like you just saw with massive power players that are going to get you to the next level, then stop what you're doing, click the link in the description, go apply, give us some information about you, and hopefully we'll see you on the inside. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're gonna love. It's right there, click on it, see you in there. Which objection do you think agents struggle with the most early in a call? I'm curious what you guys are thinking, by the way, too. You feel free to comment and let us know, or share this and let us know what you're thinking would be your biggest